Hey everyone, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. If you're new, my name's Heather. Make sure to subscribe so you can see everything that I'm going to be cooking in my grocery hauls. The first recipe I am making is this breakfast skillet. I am going to be using 3 cubed russet potatoes, and I'm going to be using a half of an onion and 1/2 of a roll of breakfast sausage. So once I have this all chopped up, I'm going to be using some Mrs. Dash Original Aldi brand, a little paprika, a little thyme, a little black pepper, and just a little bit of salt. You can always adjust these to your taste. So we're gonna go ahead and saute this up really well just to make sure that the meat is cooked and the potatoes are tender. One thing I like about cooking my potatoes together with the meat is it absorbs some of that flavor. So while we're waiting on that, we're gonna add 6 eggs to a bowl, and then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream, and we're gonna need some ground mustard, and a few shakes of this hot sauce. And if you can't eat anything spicy, then I would recommend leaving this out of your recipe. Now we're going to whisk this together until the egg and the cream have all combined really well, and then we are going to come back over to our skillet. So after that had gotten tender and the meat was cooked all the way, I added 3 of the sweet mini peppers. I added a red, orange, and yellow, and they just add so much flavor, a little bit more vitamins to your meal, and let those cook for just a few minutes. You just want them to become fragrant and tender. And now we're going to pour in our egg mixture and start scrambling it just like you would scrambled eggs. I truly wish you guys had smell-o-vision for this. And no breakfast casserole, skillet or otherwise, will be complete without a cup of cheese. So instead of stirring this to incorporate it, I'm just going to spread it over the top. And then I'm going to take my spatula and just kind of push it down into the food without breaking everything up completely. Because I do want it to have a little bit of that cheese on top. It is absolutely delicious this way. A lot of times we like to add a little salsa, but that is optional, so I'm adding a little bit of salsa here on top. I hope that you guys will try this budget-friendly breakfast for a crowd. So for this next recipe, I found it on Facebook and I just had to try it. Sloppy Joe grilled cheese. So we have diced onion, 1/2 cup, and then I put in a few of those mini sweet peppers with a pound of ground turkey and a 1/2 teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, salt, and pepper. And then you're going to need to make your sauce. So we have 2/3 of a cup of ketchup, Dijon mustard, and whichever way you want to pronounce this, that's what we're going to be making our sauce with. So now that our turkey is all cooked up and done all the way through, I'm going to go ahead and add this ketchup. You can use whatever kind of ketchup you desire. And then I'm just going in with a little zhuzh of this, again, I call it Worcestershire sauce. You just say it however you want to. And then we're going in with some Dijon mustard. And I was running out, but I probably could have used a little bit more. I think I probably got there maybe a 1/2 tablespoon. It could have used more. So if you want to double that, that works. And here's what it looks like when it is all cooked and warmed through with that sauce. And now we are going in our skillet. I washed that bad boy up and we're starting over. I have buttered and used garlic and parsley on my buttered bread, and we just have that down like we're going to be making our grilled cheese. So then we're going in with some heaping spoons here. You can add more if you'd like, but I'm adding these heaping spoons of that Sloppy Joe mixture here. And again, you know, you could use ground beef if you would like. So I'm just going to continue adding that to all of the slices of bread. And I pressed it down a little bit so it wouldn't be so goopy in the middle. Here we have all of them completed, and now I'm going to be going in with some Colby Jack cheese. You can personalize this. Again, with whatever cheese you have on hand. If you don't want to run out to the store, just use what you do have. And this was so surprisingly good. I would highly recommend it. And here is like the other side. You can see here I have the butter with parsley and some garlic powder on them. I think it adds a little something to the sandwich. I do it with all of my grilled cheese, no matter what kind I am making. Here it is all put together with those air fried dill pickles. My husband really rocked those out. They were so crunchy, so delicious, and I could have just made a meal on those, but this whole plate was goodness. All right, now we're going to be making my pot roast. This pot roast is pretty simple, and I'm just going to be washing and cutting up these russet potatoes. I am going to peel them, and then I'm going to be adding those to the stock pot, then the chopped up carrots, and then generously salt and pepper each layer. And now to my bowl, I'm going to be putting one of the Lipton onion recipe soup packages in it. And then I'm going to add the water it suggests for just that. Now I've added in a little paprika, a little bit of parsley. You can already see it floating in there. Just wanted to show you what I did put in. And then a few thyme leaves. Now that I've placed my roast down in over the vegetables, I am pouring this mixture over it. And the reason I'm using a little bit more of the broth than I normally do, I don't usually add water, but I wanted to add this on, and now I'm giving it a little splash of this again. I love to use this on all of my meat, you guys. Anything pork or turkey or beef, I like to add that. It just adds a lot of flavor. But I'm adding water to this because I'm going to be stretching this out and using that broth and the leftover beef for another meal, so just stay tuned for that. I am using part of an onion that I have just roughly chopped up here in these big chunks, just slicing that and putting it over the top. And then once that is all placed over the top, I am going to close this lid and not touch it again for 8 hours. So here is how that roast turned out. The meat was very tender and juicy. I did make some homemade dinner rolls. Go me. And then I did serve that with some cottage cheese for a little added protein. This plate was so good. Now we're going to start with one of my favorite ways to make eggs, this bacon jalapeno eggs. So I have a little bit of an onion chopped up. You can use as much as little as you like. We're just easy breezy here. I have 2 slices of bacon that I cut up and browned. Also 2 jalapenos seeded and diced. So we put in 6 eggs and about 1/3 cup of heavy whipping cream, and we're just going to stir this up and get it cooking. I love to do different ways with scrambled eggs, and I love my scrambled eggs with seasoning. I can't eat runny eggs, I can't eat any of that stuff, so I love a lot of my eggs to have a lot of seasoning and things added to them. I'm sure you've noticed that by now, but I'm just gonna go ahead and let these cook through. Now that they are cooked through, I'm gonna go ahead and add my salt and pepper. I always like to wait till the end, or as close to the end as possible. Now I'm going to be adding in like a 1/2 tablespoon of cream cheese and a little bit of this mild cheddar, and just utilizing the rest of it that I needed for another recipe. So I'm just sprinkling that over the top, and then I'm going to mix that all together, make sure that cream cheese melts and gets all creamy. You guys, look at the cheese pull in this. Just keep watching that cheese. This is such a good, smoky, and delicious cheesy breakfast. I hope that you will try it if you do love eating jalapenos. I mean, who doesn't love a good cheese pull? Here is the leftover beef from the other night's dinner, and I did save all of that broth in there. You can see the fat is separated on the top, so we're gonna throw that away in just a minute. But I wanted to share with you this easy beef and noodles recipe. These are the egg noodles I picked up, or egg-free ribbons that I pick up from Walmart. I actually love those. And so we are going to start with the broth that we saved, and then we're going to add some water to that and let that come up to a simmer. Here is that fat. Look how easy that is. It's all in one solid piece. You just tip it up with a knife and toss it. So we're going to add this to the measuring cup, and then we're going to follow the directions on the back of the noodle package. So whatever your noodle package says on the back for cooking them, that's what you need to use. So if yours is a little bit different from this, then make sure you're just following those directions. But I start off using that very concentrated beef broth first. It has so much flavor, and it's really going to give your noodles such a home cooked meal flavor. It's going to feel like it's cooked all day. So here I'm just adding the water that is required for my package of noodles, and then we're going to cover that and let it come up to a boil. And I've got my beef shredded here. Just pull it apart with a knife, fork, whatever you need to do. And I actually have enough to save to put in the freezer for another meal. So that one roast is taking our family through 3 meals. So we're just going to go ahead and dump this beef in and continue to let that cook. Just wanted to go ahead and show you, I do have it packaged with some of that broth for another meal, and I can use that in soup, or I can make this meal again. And this was so highly favored, I'll probably be making this one again. So here we are, nice and bubbly, and we're going to go ahead and drop our noodles in. Give it a stir, and then you can either cover it or leave it to cook uncovered. If you cover it, obviously it's going to cook a little faster, but be very careful because they cook over pretty quickly. So here is our plate. I have some more cucumbers and onions, and of course it goes great with bread and butter. So such a simple meal, so filling and so full of flavor. Tonight's dinner is smothered pork chops and corn, so I'm going to show you how I make my corn on the stove. Normally I'll put it in the oven in the winter, but I just can't do it right now. So 2 cans of regular corn and 1 can of creamed corn. You will add a splash of cream, which you can see in there, but I didn't film that for some reason. So we're adding about 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs, salt and pepper. Stir this all together and then just let it simmer. Let's go ahead and start working on these pork chops. I have 4 bone-in pork chops here. I have sprayed with non-stick cooking spray my baking dish, and I'm going to be adding in this 1 package of the onion recipe soup mix. You can use store brand or you can use Lipton. I usually buy it at Aldi. And 1 can of this cream of chicken. I do like to use fat-free or the heart-healthy version of Campbell's. And stir this together, and then we are going to just put heaping spoons over each pork chop. It should look just like this when you are done. And now we are going to come back in with a little bit more pepper, and I like to put parsley on mine as well, but you can add whatever your heart's desire. A little garlic, a little parsley, a little pepper. Honestly, just can't go wrong with the combination of flavor. And then I'm going to be covering it with parchment paper and putting in a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 30 minutes. Here's what it looks like when it is all finished. That creamy corn and the delicious glaze on that pork chop. It is such a hearty flavor, so good, and I hope you add it to your menu. That's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you next time.